I'm sitting on the right side because we learned you had a little bit of an ear problem coming in, so it's appropriate that you're on the left wing. We know from the subtitle of the first volume of Blinding. And I'm going to try and turn my chair, but it is a little bit off here, so if I stumble, yep, look what happened. I was telling Jill before the event that I always love every year to do an archipelago event. It's an honor for me because there's so many great writers that we're introduced to here in the United States through Archipelago. And when she asked me 2 months ago or so if I would do this, I said sure. And I didn't quite know what I'd signed myself up for. It's an extremely difficult book to stick your finger into and to talk about. It's an amazing set of layers that you constructed in Blinding. It's a novel about a city. It's a novel about the body. It's a novel about what takes place under the body. It's a novel that I think is apocalyptic in certain ways. It's a novel that deals with folklore as well. It's such a fantastic creation that has so many different levels, and they all interact in certain specific ways. And of course, they all deal finally ultimately with memory, and with the aspect of the kind of hyper-real aspect of dreams and sort of the meaning of dreams. And I think, shocked when I first realized that this was actually only 1/3 of the trilogy, which you worked on for I think 15 years. Is that correct?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how the book came into being? Were you still writing as a poet at that point? You started as a poet.
Yeah. If you allow me, before answering your question, I would like to say hello to everyone. I'm really very pleased to be with you in such an intimate group, let's say, but so nice. I would like to tell you that being in the States and trying to make myself a name in this new culture and in this new world is a great challenge for me. It's one of the hardest things I've done in my life. As compared to the American culture, the European different cultures of different countries are very easily to penetrate. America is a hard stone, a hard stone to crack, let's say, a hard nut to crack. But I was lucky. I was lucky that for I found a wonderful publisher, which is here, Jules Kuhlman, and a wonderful publishing house, Archipelago, which took this risk to publish a virtually unknown writer on the American market. Each book has its fate, as the ancients said. So I feel myself obliged to believe in this book and to believe in its fate, not only in Europe, where it does very well, but also here. So I'm very glad that you came to talk a bit about it, and I thank you, Eric, for being so kind to present this book to a little but select part of the American public, I'd say. Well, I think I had written over 20 books before starting to write Blinding. So Blinding is a book of maturity for me. At a certain moment in my in my life and in my career as an author, I felt the need to do something crazy, to do something.
And sitting down and writing a 1,500-page book was your idea.
Exactly.
Fun, crazy.
Exactly. How did you know that? So my idea was to do something monumental, not because I have huge and crazy and kinky dreams, but because doing something very big, very visible, very powerful in a way, is is something that any writer who respects himself or herself should do at least once in a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, T.S. Eliot said that there are things that you cannot tell but in a long poem. The short poems are okay, are fine, but you cannot just shrink everything on one page or on 2 pages. Sometimes you need space, like those big trucks that cannot turn around but in a very large space. So when I started blinding, I was in a way on the highest level of my work so far, and my life, nel mezzo del cammin de nostra vita, and
Such an andante
yes,
way of putting
and
it.
I started it with only 2 ideas on my mind, without knowing anything about its content, what I was going to put in it.
Uh-huh.
But I knew that I wanted to write a book over 1,000 pages big, thick, and this book should be called Orbitor. Orbitor in Romanian is blinding, but with many other connotations. It means literally a dazzling light, a very strong light,
Mm-hmm.
but it also means a mystical light, a light, that light from the Tibet Book of the Dead that calls you far and far away on that road of initiation, or the light on the Tabor mountain where Jesus changed his appearance and appeared surrounded by a very strong light, a light that we call in our language Orbitor. Orbitor is also a very beautiful word in Romanian because it's a sort of a palindrome. You can pronounce it the other way around, orbit or.
Right.
And also contains this syllable or, which in French is gold, and it creates sort of sparkles around the word. So it's a sort of a mandala,
Uh-huh.
in a way. And when I started to write, I was in Amsterdam by that time, in a very small, very tiny room at the penthouse of a house near the Ajax Stadium. I started to write it by hand, so it's a book written by hand completely, having in mind that I have to do something like a sort of a screening and mapping of my mind, of my brain, in a way. So I started...
Like in the sense of a brain scan. Or...
Like a brain scan. So I started with of course, my memories.
Uh-huh.
My memories, having this ambition to go where nobody went, actually, to decipher those first years of my life, the first 2 years of my life, the years that nobody remembers, actually, from his or her own autobiography. So I started digging extremely deep in myself. I started with this ambition of remembering everything from my personal past and where I didn't remember inventing. So my memories in this book are not like in Marcel Proust, for example, those memories provoked by some accidents, but is a memory in the postmodern meaning, in a way. Not recreation, but simply creation of the past. And the book developed itself in a way. I wrote it by hand each and every day without any plan, without knowing where I'm going to get with